This is Aaron with anetcomputers.com with another video for you today. The error is on screen. It's kind of a lengthy one. Windows failed to start. A recent hardware or software change might be the cause. So this video pertains to how to fix Windows failed to start. A recent hardware or software change might be the cause. There are some different troubleshooting steps that I included, but some of them or one of them may fix your issue. Okay, let's go over the original request, quoted verbatim on screen. ASUS, my laptop will not restart. Message is Windows failed to start. A recent hardware or software change might be the cause. And they didn't know what operating system they actually had installed, which was a bit perplexing to me. But anyways, they claimed that they owned that ASUS laptop for 5 years. They had Microsoft Windows 7 operating system installed. That laptop did not come with an optical drive, so that's something that you might become aware of, because you could not boot off of an optical disk, or even the installation disk, and reinstall Windows. So here's the troubleshooting steps. You can go ahead and turn off that laptop by powering it off. Then you can remove the battery and all external devices, for example, universal serial bus printers, external hard drives, flash drives, etc. Then you want to disconnect the power cable from both the wall outlet and your laptop. Now you want to press and hold the power button on your laptop for 1 minute. If you have a desktop computer, same scenario, even a tablet, you could say. Then you can go ahead and plug in the power cable back into the wall outlet and your laptop computer or desktop computer. Now you want to power on that computer and see if Microsoft Windows 7 operating system will boot properly. Now, some of the more modern laptops, the actual battery is inside the housing, inside the cover, the case, and if you don't have much computer experience, most people would never have a clue on how to remove the battery. Just to let you know, back in the day, you would just have like a little button or a release knob, or you know what I'm saying, and then the battery would just fall right out. I don't know why computer manufacturers started placing the batteries inside, but if you're not familiar with computer hardware, then you might have to take it to a computer technician to get the battery replaced, or to remove the battery. Or you could, another way you could do it is you could discharge the battery. I would not recommend that you boot into an operating system and then let the battery discharge that way. You could boot it into the BIOS. If you know what the basic input-output system is, you could boot it into the BIOS and then just leave it there, and obviously disconnect the power cable from the laptop and then let the battery discharge that way. Okay, because sometimes, believe it or not, sometimes a failing battery or a discharging battery, whatever, can cause these kind of issues. Okay. Now what you want to do is you could perform clearing the electrostatic discharge, but that's actually what I just told you. I usually don't tell people that because a lot of people don't have no clue what you're talking about. ESD is an acronym, but it stands for electrostatic discharge, or electric static discharge, you know what I'm saying? So that's what the steps I just gave you. Also, it could be some strange Microsoft Windows operating system problem. Now, if it didn't fix your issues, the troubleshooting steps I just gave you, then what you want to do is you can power up your computer, and then you will want to power it back on and immediately start pressing and tapping the F8 function key until an advanced boot option menu opens. It's a black screen with different options. It's just a menu of options that Microsoft operating system has. Now remember, As soon as you power on your computer, before Microsoft Windows tries to boot, keep tapping. Just keep pressing, just click, 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 click the F8 key. You don't hold it down, you keep tapping it until the menu opens, if it opens. If that menu opens, the Advanced Boot Options menu, you want to select Last Known Good Configuration and from that menu, and it'll restore Microsoft Windows back to its last known good configuration. If that fixes your issue, chances are that might be it. If that does not fix your issue and it just will not boot and you keep receiving that Windows failed to start error, what you can do is try the other options in Advanced Boot Options, which include Safe Mode with Command Prompt, Safe Mode with Networking, and just Safe Mode. Alright, let's see, I'm just reading here. Okay, now if after using any of the Safe Mode options and they work, the Safe Mode with Networking, Safe Mode with Command Prompt, what you can do is you can try to restart that computer and see if all of a sudden Microsoft Windows starts to function normally. Just allow it to normal boot. Don't go back into the F8 menu. Just allow the computer to restart. The basic input-output system will display. Just don't touch anything. And Microsoft Windows normal mode should try to boot. That, and then if it does, chances are you fixed your issue. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're still receiving that Windows failed to start a recent, that lengthy error, you're not at the beginning of this video and in my blog post, then you can try to boot into Windows Safe Mode. Now, you're going to perform some scans on the operating system, so you'll need to become a little bit aware of command line. You could also try this. You could perform a malware, spyware, virus, system file check, and check the scans, all that. Some of them require a command line. You can use Microsoft Windows Defender and run a full scan. Microsoft Windows Defender, now I don't know about Windows 7. I'm not sure. I just do not know if the more recent versions of Windows Defender will scan for malware, spyware, and adware, and you know what I mean, and viruses. The older version, I'm not sure. But just run a full scan with Windows Defender because it's built in, or if you already have your own antivirus installed, you can go ahead and use that. My point is that you want to run some malware, spyware, virus scans just in case that's what's causing that error. Now, you do not have to use these tools, but these are my preferred tools. Emsisoft Emergency Kit and or Super Anti-Spyware. Just a quick anecdotal evidence. Sometimes Emsisoft Emergency Kit, now it's been a few years, but when I had my own computer repair business, I always used Emsisoft Emergency Kit and Super Anti-Spyware. Once on occasion, Super Anti-Spyware would not detect everything, and if the computer was really infected and even Super Anti-Spyware found a lot of malware and spyware and crap, I would go ahead and just use Emsisoft anyways, because on occasion Emsisoft would find items that Super Anti-Spyware did not. Now, as far as antivirus scans, I'm not sure if Emsisoft, I haven't used it in a while. I'm not sure about Super Anti-Spyware. I'm not sure if they also scan for viruses now. If that program or the program that you use only scans for malware and spyware but not viruses, there's plenty of antivirus, you know what I mean, programs. There's Avast, Antivirus Guard. Did you know that Avast and Antivirus Guard are owned by the same company? Yeah, they merged, so they're not, they're not competitors anymore, but, well, on the surface they are, but they're not. They're owned by the same company. You could also use Microsoft Security Essentials, which is does that come installed? That may not become installed, but that one was a virus scan software program. And you can use any of them you want. There's all kinds, you know what I'm saying? So once you run malware, virus, spyware scans and you're pretty certain that and it may have found somewhere, it's not really finding anything, you could, move on to the next step. You're going to want to run 2 file system checks. Now, before I tell you about these 2 file system checks that are built into the Microsoft Windows operating system, if you ever need online computer technical support, you can ask a computer technician now and solve your computer problem. I have partnered with a third-party company that has probably hundreds, at least I would say hundreds of computer technicians that are vetted and verified. You can, at your disposal, communicate with them over text chat, real-time text chat, SMS text, telephone, video, and they can even remotely connect into your computer. So if you're, now, remotely, they couldn't, well, it depends on. If you're able to boot into Microsoft Windows Safe Mode with networking and browse the internet, one of their technicians could possibly remotely connect into your computer and then perform the troubleshooting for you. In order to, and you can get tech help 24 hours a day, 365 days a year at my website, anetcomputers.com. You can just browse to anetcomputers.com and you'll see a kind of like a chat plugin, and you can enter in your information there, or you can always click on the Get Tech Help. All right, so back to this video. There are 2 system scans that a lot of people are not aware of. The first one is called SFC, which is an acronym which stands for System File Check. And here's the command that on screen highlighted that you would type into a command prompt. SFC space / scan now. Now, I don't recommend, I never give out advice, I never guarantee anything, but here's a tip. I usually run that more than once because sometimes I find that after running a SFC scan, it may say it fixed something or it may not, and then I'll try it 2 or 3 more times and it may actually, say it fixes something. It's kind of strange. Now, SFC scans can take a while, so just be patient, but again, you're going to run that in a command prompt. It has a kind of a indicator. It just comes back to the C prompt and just tells you that the scan's complete. But it's a good tool, you know what I'm saying? Another tool that you can use to possibly fix this just wretched long error, Windows failed to start, or recent hardware or software, blah, 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 you know what I mean, failed to start, is a check disk scan. And again, add a command prompt, chkdsk space C : space /F space /R. Now those, you don't really need to concern yourself, but the last 2 variables are basically a full scan, and there are 5 different steps, and you'll see it. When you kick off that scan, it has a progress indicator, and it's 5 steps. And so you should see step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with, a progress indicator. Now they, caveat emptor, that kind of a scan, and since it's a full scan, can take hours, believe it or not. It depends on just many variables. Maybe your hard drive is failing, or maybe you have a lot of data, or maybe Windows is corrupted. So be patient. You could just probably leave it overnight and come back the next day and check on it. You know what I'm saying? No pun intended. That wasn't a pun, but I just realized I'm like, wait a minute. I'm describing the check disk tool, and I just, used the word check. But no, that was not an intentional pun. You know what I'm saying? I wish it was an intentional pun. That would mean that, wow, that was just not bad. But nope. Okay. Again, just going over how it's a comprehensive scan. It can take hours. And believe it or not, you may not believe this, but I've had customers that brought me a computer that were so fucked up that I kicked off a check disk scan, and it literally took days. I don't know what my record was. I didn't like jot it down, but maybe I should have. But no, I just kind of mentally try to remember. I don't know, a week. I don't know if I had any that were a couple weeks. I think I had one of my own computers, or a computer that I recycled, that I tried to salvage the operating system. that like took a couple of weeks or something. It may have been an older computer that wasn't very fast, you know what I'm saying, but whatever. Yeah, but yes, believe it or not, it can actually take days for a check disk scan. So that's why you want to become patient. And also, it can potentially fix things. And that one, I also, another tip is to run it more than once, believe it or not. Yes. If your computer is really awful, and especially if you're trying to fix this kind of an error, you might want to run it more than once, you know what I'm saying? And then I think I have had computers that the SFC scans and check disk scans, yeah, I've had plenty that just didn't fix the issue, but it's worth a shot. It's worth running those tools. Now the check disk scan on screen, this one will actually repair. It'll try to repair any corruption or misconfigurations or whatever it looks for. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Anything further? Remember, a command prompt, and you might have to type. Yeah, you need to type in the second one, I believe, or maybe both, but I definitely think the second one with administrator rights. It may give you an error if you don't have administrator rights. And I already went over the 5 stages. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, here's some more description about the check disk scan. I only run a check disk scan once unless I receive an error, or after running the scan, Microsoft Windows operating system boots differently, or I feel running the scan a second time, yes, may potentially fix a problem. Yep. If the computer is just awful and it won't even boot right, and sometimes I just go ahead and run check disk twice back to back. Otherwise, I'll just reboot it, and then it depends on. Now, if it takes a couple of weeks, now I'm too impatient for that. I would try to boot it first and see if the check disk fixed the problem. Okay. Now, this would be obviously if you're able to boot into any of the safe modes, the GUIs, the safe mode, networking, and what was the other one? Whatever. There's, 3 different safe modes? Okay. You can go into Device Manager and see if there are any hardware devices with any problemos. You can look for a red X or a yellow exclamation point. In Microsoft Windows Device Manager, if you see the red X or a yellow, that's usually not a good sign, especially a red X. A red X means like the driver is either disabled or might not even be loaded or whatever. But that's a way that you can troubleshoot. Now, what you can try is if you see any red X's or any exclamation points, you can right-click the device that has a red X or exclamation point and then choose remove. What it will do is it will remove, it's supposed to remove the driver from, it could be the driver that's corrupt that's causing your problem, believe it or not. And so you remove it from the operating system, and the Device Manager has a little tool. It's like a little hourglass. Look for it. And it's also named Scan for Hardware Changes. So if you remove the driver or that device and then it disappears, go ahead and scan. That way you don't have to restart the computer. When it scans for hardware changes, it should find that device again, and it should load that driver again. Hopefully it'll load a driver that's not corrupt. But yeah, Microsoft is corrupt, no doubt about it. Microsoft Corporation is just another corporation that is corrupt. But no, the operating system, yes, the drivers get corrupt, hardware devices get corrupt in Microsoft Windows. That's just a fact. You know what I'm saying? Now, if that doesn't fix the driver issue, you could potentially download and reinstall the driver from the original, equipment manufacturer. Let's say it's a video card that's with the driver that's corrupt. It's an NVIDIA. You could browse NVIDIA's website and download it, and then on a flash drive, and then mount it on the Microsoft Windows 7 or whatever Microsoft Windows operating system, and then manually install it. You know what I'm saying? Or it may have an installer, it may have a setup.exe or install.exe, and then it could be the Microsoft driver, or it could even be the NVIDIA driver as an example that became corrupt. So what you're doing is you're installing a newer one. Hopefully you'll download the most recent version or a newer version, or just a version that's not corrupt. Okay. Anything further? Now, this is a longer video, but that's okay because this is ugly. The Windows failed to start. A recent hardware or software change might be the cause. Is an ugly error. It really is. You could try a system. Remember earlier in this video I told you that this laptop did not have an optical drive. Therefore, back then I don't think Universal Serial Bus, well, maybe it was. Anyways, let's digress away from that. You're not going to be able to boot off of a compact disc or a digital video disc and, reinstall the operating system, is what I'm trying to tell you. Not with an optical disc. What you could try is a system recovery. Microsoft Windows has a system recovery tool. Okay, let's try to move along here. You shouldn't lose any of your personal data. What you want to do is choose a restore point back to before you were having this problem. You want to choose a recovery date back before that ugly Windows failed to start, a recent hardware or software change might be the cause. Okay? Now, if you have any computer programs that you installed since that time, they will get removed. It is an image, and it restores the image back to before you had that problem. So if you install software since then, it will get removed. All right? And never interrupt a Microsoft system restart. Just don't even think about it, unless, because, well, I mean, you're already in a quagmire, but you could potentially make things worse. And let's say it's an issue that wasn't all that bad. Well, either way, you could potentially cause Microsoft operating system not to boot at all. Not like you can't even boot it into safe mode. Yes. So never interrupt a system restore. Do not reboot, do not power off, do not disconnect the power cable. They can take a while, but just allow it to complete. Now, if you had an external optical drive or an external digital video disc drive, you could potentially fix a problem. Yes. Yeah, there are some additional ways to fix this problem. So you could perform a search for Windows failed to start, a recent hardware or software change might be the cause. But I gave you quite a few tips. You know what I mean? Yeah, some of them are just holy, you know what I'm saying. Requires command line, and they want you to, there could be a system file, or yeah, they get ugly. Whereas me, I'm like, nah. Especially back when I had a computer repair business. I just received a message saying that OBS Studio disconnected and is reconnecting. It says reconnection successful. I don't know what that's about. Okay, maybe I need to run so that I can, finish this video. Oh, there's something weird going on here. Yeah, let's wrap this. Dude, quit fucking bothering me. Okay, that's it. I think that's enough right now. You know what I mean? These instructions were written for an Asus laptop computer with Microsoft Windows 7 operating system. However, you could use the troubleshooting steps in this video as a basis for other Microsoft operating systems. You can always browse to anetcomputers.com to fix your most common computer problems. Also, you can find out the other platforms I'm available. I'm available on YouTube, youtube.com/anetcomputers, Twitch, Trovo.live, Twitter. I already said that, I think. Instagram, TikTok, and Rumble. Adios.